What made you want to try steroids? What was the interest there?
All my friends doing them. You go to the gym and you find out that I start lifting, right? I meet these like 3 dudes I went to high school with, big dudes. I'm lifting with them. And then the first month, everybody's like, oh yeah, just drink your protein. And about after that first month, they go, yeah, well, there's a little something here extra you can try if you want,
And you're like, what?
I can hook you up. Yeah. Then they start talking you into it. And they're like, we got and then eventually you just find out that everybody is on steroids. Everybody is on steroids. And then you go to the gym and you find out the guys that you would never have guessed were on, and everybody's taking it. So, and then my best friend being, which by the way, he'd be a great guest on this podcast, by the way, Ankrum Fitness. But he's, super knowledgeable about all this. That's what this whole channel's based on. So I'm like, hey, bud, what do you think I should do? And then he just kind of sets me on the right path.
Yeah, one of my best friends in high school, he started taking them really, really early on. And fortunately for me, so there was a lot of people that were on steroids, where I came from in New York. The gym was it was very clear that it was full of steroids. I mean, everyone was super jacked and crazy strong. But I was never really that enticed by it because my friends didn't do it. My brother Chris didn't do it at the time and stuff like that. And he was my training partner most of the time. But when my best friend started taking them, I was kind of interested. I was like, what is this about? So I started looking at it, researching it a little bit, but I never messed with it until I was a little bit older because my friend sucked and it didn't matter what he took. He still sucked. Right. So I was kind of lucky that if he would have jumped past me, I probably would have gotten on him at 18 or 19 years old. But luckily for me, he was a shitty lifter no matter what he did. So it didn't influence me that much until later on.
So you also got great genetics too, man. I've been skinny fat my whole life. So it took so much for me to mold what I have into something that's passable, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely have genetics to be strong. I mean, the first time I lifted with friends and stuff, I mean, I was already lifting a little bit, but not that often. First time I ever lifted with my friends, I mean, they couldn't press 65 pounds, and I was doing 135 for a couple of reps, and it was just, I don't know why that was gifted to me, but that was just there, from the beginning.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely not in my family, that's for sure.
And I think that's why so many people resonate with you so much, because I know that's why I did. In a video game so much that it was it messed your life up a little bit. Grew up skinny fat. That's me, still to this day. But then you look at your physique now and it's just oh shit, what's that guy doing?
Andrew, I got news for you.
Uh-oh.
You want to let him in on this?
He's not skinny fat.
No, you're not skinny fat anymore.
Well,
you see, you just said until this.
I feel that way, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, newsflash.
All right, well, it's possibly the best day of my life.
He looks great.
Thanks.
I was gonna say it's crazy what you carry with you mentally from years of never being now when I meet people, we did a meet and greet event this last weekend, and it was I meet people and they're man, asking me. It's still so weird to me that people ask me for advice. I'm in person, people what do I do to get huge? And I'm giving muscle, and I still feel I'm just this tiny dude. It's, I don't know, it's wild.
Yeah, YouTube's wild, man. And that's funny because we had Mike Israetel on, who's just a freaking gorilla. And selfishly, I always ask everybody on the podcast hey, what if somebody is about 175 trying to do this and that? And it's I'm only describing myself. But you had you had put out a basically a low fat bodybuilding pizza. And so I asked, Mike about it because I saw it and I was dude, I gotta make that pizza that Remington was just cooking. It looks freaking delicious. And the short answer was you could make it and it'll, kind of resemble a pizza, kind of taste like a pizza. And I'm I don't know, man, when you haven't had pizza and that's your favorite thing ever, the way this guy cooks it is freaking good. And it came out pretty good, dude. I was kind of surprised, but where did all these recipes come from? Is it just by trying shit over and over, or was somebody teaching you?
To be honest, a lot of the recipes, I'm literally just scrambling for a video, and I'm making these when I'm really, really hungry and I'm trying to find ways to fit things into my diet. Yeah. So I'm Googling keto pizza recipe, and then you'll have because there's all these people that make all these recipes and they're just everywhere. And then I'll find one and I might tweak it or I might just verbatim make it. But I've over the course of YouTube, I've discovered quite a bit. I mean, I think I've done like 6 pizza recipes on the channel. And, I was talking about my addictive personality, but like this last November, I was in the best shape of my life, hands down. And, I was eating like 3 of those pizzas a night.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, but it fit my macros. I was shredded.
Yeah.
But,
and what is this? I mean, you can answer however you want, but was this like PED free, or was this just like eating?
Oh, my last shred?
Yeah.
My cycle for the last one. So I did 5. It was like 5. Oh, let me see. It was 1.7 test prop every other day. So what's that add up to in like a week? Like 600. So it was 600 tests a week, and then the last 4 weeks I did Anavar 75 milligrams every day.
And how many weeks of a shred was this?
12.
12.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel that like? Well, I don't know how you do your stuff, but do you feel that like? Do you always use stuff when you shred, or do you like use stuff in general, or like how's that work?
I mean, so right now I'm on TRT.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm at 150 milligrams a week. So I'm always on that, which I feel like I feel like the first few cycles I did, I really kind of messed my levels up. So
like permanently, or just like.
I mean, I was off for about 11 months, and I couldn't even explain how I felt. Like I felt depressed. I felt like I was in this really weird place. It was so strange because it just felt like normal to me. And then when I got on TRT, it was almost like there was a light bulb that went back off, and I was like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. Okay. And it like woke me back up. So I don't know. I understand a lot of it can kind of be mental. But I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to try to go off TRT now.
Yeah, I
think
not
when it makes it so much easier to just like everything. I feel like I recover faster. I feel like my body handles food better. I hold on, and like on TRT to off, I hold like 10 extra pounds of body weight just being on TRT.
And then also, how much easier is like even just YouTubing videos and stuff, and having the energy to get through the entire day of shit that you have going on TRT.
I mean, it definitely helps for sure. I mean, it's testosterone in general, man. I love it. I love it.
It's something that I share often that I use, and I think it's important. But every once in a while I kind of forget, like because I've been doing it for so long, and so somebody's like, oh, well, that's your experience because you're on stuff. And I'm like, well, that's fair. That's actually fair, because I sometimes forget how invigorating it is. Like, if I was to go off of them, I would feel totally and completely fine if it was a long enough time that I was off of them for. But like you said, even like 10 months, 11 months, a year, it can take a long ass time. And I think a precautionary tale for everybody is you have to be really careful when you come off of steroids. Like if you're ever thinking about using 100%. Them, and if you're ever thinking about like, hey, I'm going to use them for this, and then I'm going to come back off of them, you got to be really cautious, because I have never suffered from depression in my entire life, except for when I came off of steroids, and I didn't even know what it was. I was emotional, and it was weird. And luckily, I have a lot of good people around me and stuff, so it never became a thing. I don't have any other things that I'm addicted to or nothing like that. But I could see, how somebody could take their own life, or how someone could be aggressive. People talk about roid rage, and people talk about side effects of steroids. Side effects of steroids are real, first of all. Secondly, when you come off of them, that's when you'll get hit hard with them. You'll get the acne, you'll get depression, you'll get all kinds of stuff. So I like to point that out to people, because steroids are great. Like, I love them. I've said in the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I'll probably be on and off them the rest of my life. And here we are 10, 15 years later, and I'm still enjoying them. I do like them, but people need to understand it is a drug. It's very dangerous. So you need to be cautious with it. And if you're thinking about doing them, you should be researching it. I'm sure when you started your first one, not only did you have people around you, your first cycle, but you probably also researched it, correct?
Yeah, I did. I guess, the research was there, but the problem is it's so easy to find like self-validating research.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, what I mean? You're reading like all the benefits of tren, and then like I do tren, and it was the fucking worst decision I ever made. Like, this is terrible. I had to replace 2 doors in my house. I was not sleeping, ruining bed sheets. It just wasn't a good time at all.
Yeah, sweating.
So, yeah,
stuff.
And I mean, it's knowledge, but it's also like, I mean, you don't understand really what you're getting into until you you really come off of it, you know, and then you're like, cause like, it wasn't, I mean, I was definitely depressed when I came off, but it was so weird. Cause like, you know, I did this like crazy power PCT. I think it was like Dr. Scally's power PCT. So I had like Novadex, Clomid, HCG. I was doing like everything. I spent like top dollar to have like the best PCT I could have. And I thought, you know, after the first month and a half, you know, being off, I just kind of forgot that I was off, and I didn't even realize until I got on TRT that my shit was not good, you know. And it wasn't even so much depression, but maybe this is just like a side effect of depression. But it was I was just so unmotivated. My training sucked. I was like, my YouTube videos were just kind of ho hum. I was kind of in a blah mood, you know.
Do you
understanding going into it that if you do it, there's a chance for some long-term repercussions. Yeah. For sure. You just gotta be smart.
On your YouTube channel, I'm wondering, how is it that you share that information? Because I've mentioned this on other episodes before, but I noticed that a lot of individuals that share a lot of this stuff, they're even what's his name? John Meadows said that a lot of these guys are doing dangerous amounts of these drugs, and unnecessarily high amounts. And the thing is like, you look at YouTube, you know, teenagers watch this shit, 15, 16, 17-year-old men or boys, right? 100%. And they want to get big 100%. Fast. So I feel like it seems that, I mean, I'm assuming that the way that you're sharing this information is somewhat safe and precautionary, especially for guys of that age group.
You know, it's so I really don't talk about this stuff much on my channel.
Okay.
I made a video a while back where I like talked about, I'd been off steroids for 4 or 5 months or so. And I made a video about like my experience with them, because my biggest thing about the whole steroid thing was I was terrified of getting demonetized in general. Like I've always, like when I started my channel, especially, I tried to, right when I started my YouTube was during the, it was this ad gate or something. It was this thing that happened where they were like, demonetizing everybody for goofy shit. And I had just started my channel. So I was like, I want it to be family friendly. We have no cussing. We have nothing. It's going to be 100% by the books. So if you watch my old videos compared to now, I'm all like, hey guys, how are we doing? Yeah. Like no cussing. No jokes, no nothing. And that's kind of always where, you know, with the whole steroid thing, I was that same thing. I'm like, I don't want to put steroids in a title of my video and get demonetized. So, to be honest, I really, like this podcast, I think is the first time I've ever really talked about what was in my cycle and everything last time I did it. I just, I don't know. Like, I don't claim natural. I don't, you know, and I've admitted to using steroids in the past, but, I try not, because I understand so many of these kids are so influenced by this stuff. And I guess I don't know what the best approach is if I were to even talk about it. Like I could make a video about my current steroid use and all that, but I'm like, I wonder what benefit that gives any party involved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It probably will just entice them to take it since they look up to you and they want to have your physique. So I do think that's great to not talk about it a whole lot. And then if people ask you, then you can decide on how you're going to handle the situation. If someone DMs you or something, you can say, hey, look, I take them, but you're 15 and I don't think it'd be a great idea. You should wait till you're older, wait till your natural testosterone production goes down, you know?
Right. You know, and that's always my advice. I mean, I didn't do my first cycle till I was 24 years old. And I think a lot of the people say you should wait till you're 25. I did it at 24 and
wait till you're at least out of mom and dad's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no shit, man. And then have the money and have enough at least to like prepare for the whole cycle. Like buy your PCT in the beginning and like, you know, because I've heard stories from people where it's like they buy like a bottle at a time and then like their dealer goes to jail. I just heard that story yesterday. I was like, damn. All right, yeah, like buy it all at once and then there's a lot to be said too, man. Like even now, like I'm still learning about like how to properly train. I'm still learning about what the best diet is for me. It's always a growing learning experience. Like I switched my training up about maybe like 6 weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, kind of like around right before I started the Carnivore Diet. And I'm always learning. I'm always trying to be, you know, better. So I mean, you never know as much as you think you know until, you know. So you can do a lot naturally without ever getting on anything. And I definitely didn't take my own advice on that one. I wish I would have waited a little longer.